Hi guys, welcome back. Last time we talked about 3 things we have to prove to win a retaliation case. That we participated in protected activity, suffered an adverse action, and the adverse action was because of the protected activity. We also talked about how some employers manipulate unsuspecting third parties into doing their dirty work for them. Then they claim there's no way the adverse action could be because of our protected activity because the person who took the adverse action didn't even know we participated in protected activity. And last time we also touched on a theory we can use to hold our employer liable in situations like that. Cat's paw theory. You guys said you wanted to hear more about it, so that's what we're going to do today. Before we get started, I want to let you guys know that I'm going to be referring to our employers' bad actors as tricky monkeys and their unsuspecting lackeys as clueless cats. If you want to know why I'm doing that, I'll put the short answer in the description, and on the end screen of this video, I'll link to last week's video that explains it a little more. Now let's talk cat's paw. To invoke cat's paw theory, there are 3 main things we have to prove, and today I want to walk through those and talk about some ways we can prove each one. Thing 1 is that the tricky monkey had retaliatory motives. Direct evidence works best. Emails, witness statements, recordings, if we can get them legally, of the tricky monkey expressing a desire to retaliate against us. Of course, we can't always get direct evidence, so we can use circumstantial evidence. It's helpful to have a detailed and well-documented timeline of everything that happened between our protected activity and the cat's adverse actions against us. If we can show that we were treated worse by our employer, especially by the tricky monkey after our protected activity, that strongly suggests there were some retaliatory motives. We can also try to show that the tricky monkey has a pattern of retaliating. If they've been accused of illegal retaliation before, our employer probably has that documented somewhere. We can also look for incidents where the monkey acted out against someone that reported or opposed them by doing things like getting hostile or aggressive, intimidating, berating, or threatening people, where they selectively applied the rules or policies to punish those people, or where they socially or professionally tried to marginalize those people. If we're lucky, we may be able to find some witnesses who didn't want to talk about it back then, but are willing to now. There's a chance our employer may have documented some of that stuff through internal investigations, disciplinary actions, in the tricky monkey's performance appraisals, or even in emails between the tricky monkey and their boss. And we may not be able to get to those things ourselves, but a good employment attorney can definitely get them in discovery, especially if we can help them out by giving them names and approximate dates for those incidents. The next thing we have to prove is that the tricky monkey exerted influence over the clueless cat. Besides the usual emails and witness statements, here there are some other types of direct evidence that we can use as well, like directives, policies, or even informal rules that create a hierarchy between the monkey and the cat. For example, if the clueless cat fired us, but policy says the tricky monkey has to review all dismissals, well, that's some pretty good evidence of their influence right there. If we can show the clueless cat took the adverse action shortly after discussing a related subject with the tricky monkey, that temporal proximity can help us too. For instance, if we can show the cat and the monkey met to discuss performance ratings, and shortly after that meeting, our ratings began to drop. We also have to show that without the monkey's influence, the cat probably wouldn't have taken the adverse action. A common way of doing this is by showing that the clueless cat didn't independently assess whether or not the adverse action was warranted. They blindly accepted the monkey's opinions and recommendations. And sometimes we can even document whether or not the clueless cat did an independent assessment by asking polite but pointed questions in email. Can you please share how you decided this adverse action was warranted? Can you direct me to the policy you followed? If they can't or won't discuss their decision process at all, that's a pretty good sign they really didn't have one, apart from doing what the monkey wanted them to. It can also be helpful to show that the cat has a pattern of seeking out the monkey's opinions and deferring to their recommendations, even on trivial stuff. The more trivial, the better. If we can show the cat couldn't even make a simple decision like what to stock in the supply cabinet, for example, without asking for the monkey's recommendations, well, chances are that cat's not deciding who gets dismissed or demoted on their own either. We can use comparative analysis to look at the differences in how we were treated versus someone who had no protected activity. Like if two of us are late for a meeting and we get written up but the other person doesn't, that suggests the cat was influenced by something other than our just being late. Keep in mind that I'm not an attorney and I'm not an expert on cat's paw theory either. In fact, I know some of you are more experienced with it than I am. So if you guys see something that I've overlooked or misinterpreted, please let me know in the comments. I always appreciate that. Meanwhile, I hope today has given you a decent overview of how cat's paw theory works, so you can start thinking about how you could use it to hold your employer liable. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, take care and hang in.